What is up, guys? Tony here from the GamersCode, coming at you with a how-to video slash tutorial. It's been a while since we've done one of these, and we figured that this one is actually pretty helpful, so we might as well do it. And that is how to change your crosshair style, color, everything in Csgo. And if you couldn't tell by the title already. And okay, so first thing you need to do is you need to enable developer options for the console. And how you do that is you go to the options on the main menu, go to game settings, and then you see down here where it says enable developer console. You want to select yes, and as you can see, to open the console, you hit the tilde key like this, and you see this screen will pop up, and then you can type in commands into the system and it'll, change all your stuff. All right, now we're gonna get on to the actual crosshair part. All right, guys, so the first thing you're gonna wanna change is your crosshair style. And this is through the command CL_crosshair style space, and you're going to use the numbers 0 through 4. And with the number 0, you're going to get the default crosshair, which is this one right here. It's kind of a weird looking crosshair that moves as you move and as you shoot. The little circle in the middle moves. But if you actually go to CL_crosshair style in the command and you do a 1, you're going to get the static version of this. It makes it a little bit smaller, does not move when you move or when you shoot, so that's kind of cool. But if you want to change that up still and you don't like it, you can do 2, and so you're going to get the classic crosshair right here versus the default, and it moves as well and when you shoot. So it's a little bit better of a look to it, but it's still kind of annoying that it moves. And if you use a value of 3, you're going to get yourself the dynamic crosshair, which moves a little bit more, I think, in my opinion. I don't like it. I wouldn't recommend using it, but it's all personal preference. And finally, the style of 4 is the classic static, which I think most people tend to use. It's basically just a standard plus and doesn't move when you move or when you shoot. I think it's the most consistent crosshair in the game, and it looks very neutral, no crazy lines everywhere, so I would highly recommend using this one if you're looking for one to use. Okay, after you have chosen your crosshair style, you probably want to change the crosshair color, and to do this, the command in the console is CL_crosshair color space, and then you use the numbers 0 to 5. So 0 is the color for red, and it's a pretty solid color to use. It's not too hard to see and it doesn't blend in with the maps. If you use CL_crosshair color 1, you're going to get green, which is the easiest color for the human eye to see, and it's the default color that Counter-Strike uses when you first install the game. If you decide to go up to 2, you're going to see yourself getting a yellow, which is probably the worst color you could pick, seeing how most maps are all dirty and dusty and have some sort of building that makes it difficult to see. But if that's your thing, you can go for it. If you do 3, you're going to get a dark blue one. This is also a decent color to use. Just might be hard to see in some dark corners of some maps, but it's still a nice color. And if you move that up to 4, that's going to give you a light blue, as I'm about to show you right here. Light blue is nice, but it's still a little bit hard to see at some points. And then finally, when you do CL_crosshair color space 5, this allows you to fully customize your crosshair color using the RGB scale, which I'm going to show you in a second. So what you want to do is pick 5, and it puts you back to green. And now the commands for the custom colors are somewhat the same. It's going to be CL_crosshair color _R, G, or B, depending on the red, green, and blue shades. And then you're going to do a space, and then it's going to be a value between 0 and 250. So it's basically just like a color wheel. So if I were to go in and type in CL_crosshair color _R space 250 into the command console, it's going to give me a yellow right now because I already have green selected on there. But if I wanted to, I could go back into the console, change this out, take the green and put it down to 0. And then I have a solid red crosshair color. This just allows you to have different shades of colors. I mean, they only offer 5. They offer pretty main colors, but if you want something maybe like a pink or purple, maybe an orange, Like I'll show you purple just as an example. I'm going to take the red and then I'm going to add the blue. Put about right there. And that's kind of a magenta-y purple right there. Something that you can't get from the normal color wheel. And then you guys can just play around with this and find one that you like. Eventually you will. I just used a straight red on mine because I think it's very easy to see. Next, moving on, as you can see in the default crosshair, you have a dot in the middle of your screen. Now this can be useful, or some people find it as an annoyance. It's very useful if you want to go for headshots, so you know exactly where your first shot's going to hit when you shoot. But if you tend to spray more and don't really care about headshots, sometimes it gets in the way of your target of where you're shooting. So if you don't want to use this, you can use the command CL_crosshair dot and set it to either 0 or 1. Setting at 1 will give you the dot in the middle of the screen, but if you actually hit 0, as I'm about to show you, it takes the dot away, so you can just walk around without the dot in there. This is what I actually personally use, and I like it quite a bit. Now, after you decide if you want to keep the dot in there or not, we're going to do a little thing with the alpha, and what this basically does is it determines how transparent your crosshairs are going to be. And through this, we're going to use the console command CL_crosshair use alpha 0 to 1. The 0 obviously denotes you won't be using it, and it just sets it at Counter-Strike's default transparency. But if you use it at 1, you can actually play around with the transparency, which is actually quite cool, as I just put in the command right here. We have 1. Then after you have that selected, what you're going to do is go into the command and type CL_crosshair alpha without use, and then you're going to use any value from 0 to 255, and if we hit 255 right here, you can see it's completely solid, no transparency at all between the lines. This is what I like to use. I like nice solid lines and whatnot, but if you, for some reason, like a little bit lower, you go down, say you want 0, then you don't have a crosshair. If you're feeling like hardcore action and you feel like you're good enough, you don't need to use a crosshair. But I highly recommend that you do show the crosshair because it makes the game a lot easier when you know where you're shooting. Now, after we deal with the transparency of the lines, we can deal with the line thickness in itself, and that's denoted through the console command CL_crosshair thickness, which is pretty straightforward. Most of these commands are pretty straightforward, and they have the name basically in it. So the thickness default, I believe, is 0.5, and I personally like mine to be a little bit thicker, and I choose a 0.75. As you can see, it just makes the lines a little bit, easier to see, a little bit thicker. They take up your screen. You don't have to, look so hard to try to see your crosshairs on like a dark colored map. But I mean, if that's not good enough for you, you could set something to 6, and then you just got some big squares on there. It's all about your personal preference. You can play around with this however you want. I mean, I wouldn't recommend this because you can't even tell really where your shots are going to go. But yeah, I like to use the value of 0.75, but you guys can always play around as you like. Now, after we focused on the crosshair thickness and how thick we want the lines to be, we're going to focus on the size of the lines themselves, whether we want them to be super freaking long or we want them to be super tiny, close up on the screen to where we almost have like just a little dot. And in order to do this, you're going to do CL_crosshair size, and 5 is the default that they give you, but I personally like mine to be a little bit smaller, so I use, I believe, 3 for that, and you can see what this looks like. It's just a lot tinier, and it feels like you're more precise when you're aiming that you don't have that. But if you like, maybe even longer, you could just put that in a nice solid 56, and then look at that. Now you're for sure not going to miss your crosshair if you see that. But I recommend using a crosshair size between 2 and 4. That's what most people, I think, tend to use. I mean, 5 is fine itself. It's just the default. But if you want to change it up, use one of those. Like I said before, I use 4, sometimes 3, but it just kind of varies in between. So I'm just going to put it on 3 just for the sake of this. Alright guys, and finally the last thing that you're going to choose on is the crosshair gap. And in order to do this in the console, you're going to do CL_crosshair gap space, whatever you want to use. So when we type that into the command console, I believe the believe the original is 1. They have a default as 1, but if you want something a little bit more spaced out, you think it's too close together, let's throw it on 8. And you can see you have a nice wide and open plus sign there, basically. But me personally, I like to have mine closer to the center of the screen, so I feel like I can be more precise when I'm aiming. So in order to do this, we can actually put in negative numbers. So I personally use a -2, and as you see, you have a nice enclosed crosshair right there, and it's very precise when you're aiming. So having it super small will allow you to be on targets a little bit easier, kind of go for them headshots. But if you have it a little bit wider, you might be able to spray a little bit better and control that more. Like I said multiple times in this video, it's all about personal preference and finding one that suits your needs and just playing around with it and harmless with bots, and just finding one that works, because it's really cool what you can do with the crosshairs. There's a lot of developer options with Valve, and it's really cool that you can customize the crosshair in the game. Alright guys, well thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you did enjoy and learn something about changing crosshair in CSGO, and hopefully I went through everything as best as I could with as much detail. And if you want to see any more of these how-to tutorial videos, be sure to let us know. We will try to do whatever we can to help you guys out. If we know something that's actually pretty interesting, we'll make a video about it. Hopefully you guys will enjoy. But be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and we will talk to you guys next time.